Hi, everybody. This is Jim Havlin. In our series of shows recognizing people who recently won awards here in Ohio from any one of the organizations that like to give recognition to various founders and businesses and leaders. This is our series on the Next 25 group. Next 25 is part of the OhioX's recognition of various companies this year. And the 2025 class includes a number of really great companies. I really wanted to talk to some of these founders. So the next couple of shows are going to be about some of those great companies and great founders. If you want to learn more about being on the show, we do have this is a standard part of what we do. And you can go here to the weekly impact page that is part of the Transistor Network, and let us know you want to be a guest, or you think there's someone who should be a guest who's recently won an award, or someone that's watched the show, the Lay of the Land show, and would like to help us review one of those shows. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the show. All right, welcome everybody. This is Jim Havlin, and we are working through our list of OhioX Next 25 recipients, recognition offered late in 2025. I'm here today with Brian Adams of Seven Hills Technology. Brian, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited.
I always love meeting folks from that kind of get these recognitions. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But let's begin with just going over your story. So when you say the 2 or 3 minute version of your story, what do you typically say?
Yeah, growing up, I had a couple of interests as I was looking at like what do I want to do for a career, and one was doing stuff with cars, becoming a mechanic, and the other was going into technology. And
It's
so I
not too
chose
late, by the way. You
technology.
could still do cars.
Was that yeah?
They're still
That's
around.
my amateur job now.
Yeah.
That's my
Okay,
weekend
good.
work.
Okay.
So I decided to go into technology, and honestly, I sort of was terrible at it at first. I learned like IT help desk stuff and didn't really get it. It didn't click. And then I hit software and programming, and it just like had that light bulb moment, right?
Yeah.
And started freelancing in high school. I went to college studying computer science, joined a consulting company there where I met my now business partner. He's the guy that hired me. And through some series of events, I sort of ended up here about 8 years ago.
Well, fantastic. So, I mean, this is a space that's changed a lot.
Yeah.
What was when you first started Devon Hills? What was the thought? What was the vision for that?
Yeah. So it's sort of interesting. Normally, when a company starts, there is some sort of grand vision, right?
Well, not
Brad,
always. I
our
mean, that's what we actually find is that for most businesses start with someone who's a subject matter expert that just wants to kind of build a job around it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so, coming from the software consulting space, like I said, our original founder, he hired me at the last consulting company that we were at. And dude just knows like everything there is about software and technology. I mean, his breadth of knowledge is insane. And we've always sort of held this belief amongst each other that software engineering is not just about the technical bits. There's
Right.
all these other factors that go into building great software, everything from the UX UI and who the users are and how they're using it and what that actual downstream impact is. Does it make sense to make, or should you just buy something? And we really believed in that. And that's sort of what we've centered the idea of the company around, which is like, yes, we have to know technical stuff. We have to be experts there. But at the same time, you also need to understand the business side, especially business finance side and
Right.
the UX side and product management. You got to be comfortable talking to users. You got to be comfortable sort of getting kicked around a little bit if you're doing something that's not right. And we've really taken that approach, and that's sort of been the guiding philosophy over the years.
And it's interesting how in all industries there's always that arc, that change from when
Mhm.
it's first introduced, when it's a very technical field, to like now we have to find places where it fits. Like we don't have chief electricity officers inside
Yeah,
our
yeah.
businesses, right? So we kind of figured that stuff out. But certainly in a much faster way, the way companies consume technology has changed dramatically.
Massively.
And I imagine at this point, the way you get work done is probably dramatically different from the way you got work done originally.
If somebody would have told me 4 years ago the way we'd be building software today, I would have
Yeah.
told them they were like absolutely crazy. There's no chance, right? And so it's really it's night and day different. And it's one of those things. I tell you, we've focused on the business impact and all these things that go alongside with the technical side. And that's really turned into sort of an advantage for us lately.
Mm,
We look at what AI has done to software development, and you have a lot of very, very smart technical people. I'm a good programmer. I would not say I'm like the best of the best, right? I know enough to be really effective, but there's much, much smarter developers than me. But what we're starting to see now with AI and how much these agentic tools are writing code,
yeah,
software developer roles, software engineering roles are shifting. And guess what's becoming more important? All these things around the outside of it that we've been
right.
focusing on.
Yep.
And so we've been able to adapt to that change really, really well. Now, obviously, everybody's still learning the best way to use the tools and what's most effective for them and their organizations. And we're constantly doing experiments and iterating on that side of things too. But the core of what we talk about of product management and business thinking and UX, UI, that stuff has now been like, now software engineers are expected to learn that. We're already ahead of the curve there, and that's become really interesting.
Yeah, that is very interesting. 'Cause I think it's yeah, I mean, you're much more aligned with what the need is
Mhm.
now. As I go take all of our clients, through this journey of trying to figure out how they're gonna approach AI, one of the ways I break down work and the kind of people that you want to partner with. There's good builders that initiate, and
Yeah.
there's good people that run stuff, right? The
Yep.
build, run, and then the review and revise. Like hey, we got to continually improve this. And I've been mostly counseling my clients at this point to not be on the build side because there's not much upside to learning how to build right now because it's going to be better, different, easier later.
It's
You know,
gonna change. I mean, that's the thing, right? Is like, and everybody in this space, anybody that tells you they know exactly where this is going, they're full of it, in my opinion. We're all
correct.
placing bets on different things. And there's a big fact of software engineers that say, "No, this is about as good as it's gonna get, and we still gotta worry about these things." And there's other parts that are like, "In 5 years, we're not gonna care what the code is. We're not even gonna review it. It's just gonna, build and ship itself."
Right.
So, we're trying to find that balance and figure out the appropriate sort of thing there. But that's why knowing, like you said, that build and then run phase and that ongoing improvement. If you don't understand the foundation of why you're building something or what you're building, you don't
Mm,
understand the business impact and the users that it's affecting and how they use the system, guess what? You could build the best software in the world, but it
yeah.
may not actually solve their problem. Similarly, you could improve it a lot, but if it's that far off, like you're toast. So you got to be able to see it end to end, and that's been our whole philosophy.
Brian, you just used one of my favorite words, why.
Yeah,
Well, there's two things that when something's going wrong inside a business, that, I give away this to free all the time. It's like, listen, everything you should be doing it for the why, not because you're doing the performative dance. If you don't know the why, then you're not gonna make a good decision. The
yeah.
other one is when something doesn't, goes wrong, who owns it? Is the question you should ask yourself.
Well, and
'Cause
that's the part where, like, again, I said there's this divide, right, of how much do we care about the code? It is like somebody's gotta be held accountable for it at the end of the day, right? Somebody
indeed.
prompted it, somebody chose not to review it, and then somebody shipped it and caused the data leak, like, yeah, you still gotta be responsible for what you're shipping.
Well, it's one of the things I've been helping my clients, put their AI they're using actually on the accountability chart, on the org chart. It's
Oh,
like,
that's an interesting idea,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So that this should report to you. It is you're
yeah.
giving it responsibility for some things. It should have some KPIs to be measured by. You should be really clear about what your expectations are, because it's just like every employee. It's only going to do as well as you give it clear direction.
Yeah, there's a lot of thinking that managing the different agentic AI and the different AI tools is just like managing different people, right? They're just far more obedient than than what human people naturally are.
And they're going to be obedient to a fault, right? They're going to do exactly what you said, man.
Exactly. Yes, that's exactly right.
For at least for the time being until they take over. That aside, so you were recognized by OhioX. How do you attribute this recognition?
So we're big on building in Ohio and building in the area. Something that I routinely think about is like our local communities are sort of the last place that we have a big impact. The world's so different now than what it used to be, right? And we can actually have an impact on local communities. And that's
Mm,
why, conventional software agencies over the years have shipped work overseas to maximize margin or gone global with their workforce. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, we've done it too, and we still do it on occasion for different needs. But primarily, like we're focused on building something here that can give back to our community, can contribute positively to the Ohio economy, and really trying to be stewards to say like, hey, this is a important skill set,
Mm.
this type of technology skill set. This is important. We should want to keep this in Ohio. We should want to keep this in the United States and really trying to lean into how can we create a desirable place to live and work within Ohio instead of seeing talent in this space go elsewhere.
It's so hard, I think, because I work with entrepreneurs, in various stages of their growth, right? From,
Mhm.
here's 3 people, here's 400 people. And at every one of those stages, you still have the pressure to the immediate economics of the
Mhm.
situation, when in reality, part of you earn the right and the responsibility, I think, as you grow, to have that longer and longer term view of what's going on. What's the impact of this going to be
Exactly. Yeah.
long term? And that is what we see a great companies do. Is you have to, when you're in survival mode, you've
Yeah.
got to stay in survival mode, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
how are we going to get to payroll? And then, but as you start making profit, and then try to get to real target market fit,
Right.
it's really expectation of the leader should be, I'm thinking further and further out. The story I tell all the time is about Jeff Bezos. When he first started out,
Mhm.
if books were behind schedule, he would go down and help put books in boxes, right? That was,
Yeah.
in the early days. But by the time he was done, multiple interviews, he said, my job is to think about the impact of this business, make three great decisions that'll impact this business 20 years from now, right?
I like that approach.
And
And
that's the
yeah.
arc. That's like that's the arc of the story. I mean, going from I've got to steer this thing through the storm to the point where I got to be thinking about what happens not even next season, but next generation.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And the other part of it too is like to me, it's fun to be able to walk around our office and go talk to people and have those small collisions, those small engagements that remind us we're all human and we're all sort of going through this together, that you just lose that in that remote sense. And so while we've got team members throughout the United States, when I look at like what can we do in Ohio, I look at how can we build that place where people want to come work.
Well, so then tell me about the future. I mean, you didn't start with a vision. That's not uncommon.
Yeah.
But at this point, you've got a bigger responsibility. You've got people reporting to you.
Yeah,
You've got
absolutely.
families that are
Yep.
relying on the thing.
Yeah.
I know I've talked to plenty of people that said, there's some kind of unlock that goes, okay, now I've actually got to grow this to the point where it actually can withstand the changes that are coming. It can actually thrive. How do you think about the future?
Yeah, that is a massive, massive challenge right now. And, it's so hard to look out, call it 10 years, and even see what the landscape is going to look like because 3 years ago it looked totally different than it does now.
Right.
And the economics of our business has changed in the last 18 months, like in a very substantial way, like a
Absolutely.
massively substantial way. I'm not, I don't like to think about what it's going to look like in 10 years because to be quite honest, I don't know. I look a little shorter term, 3 to 5 years normally. And what I see is, again, I think the act of developing software will continue to get commoditized. That piece, I think, is going to continue to shrink in terms of the value that it comes from it. So then when I look at how do we build a sustainable business with that commoditization of the core value that we provide now, it's like, okay, well, now we've got to go find other ways that we can provide value. And so this year is running a lot of different experiments. We're looking into a lot of different markets, both
Right.
vertical and horizontal, different challenges that we enjoy solving that maybe, hey, maybe it's solving this problem a whole lot. Trying to sort of figure out what exactly that is where we can take the lessons that we learn about building systems, building end-to-end value, how do you then incorporate that in a way that isn't solely based around software development, where that's one component of it, but it's all these other technology components sort of working together to provide additional value on top of that? Because I think that's where the real value from an agency like mine will be in 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, I see so much of what people are struggling with now isn't having the AI, but being able to, co- you know, everyone's got data, but it isn't necessarily actionable data. And integrating all of the sources of knowledge and wisdom seems like it's
We're doing a ton of like AI readiness assessments right now because of exactly that. Everybody's getting board pressure, right? Oh, we got to have AI. We're falling behind our competitor. They did this new
sure,
AI tool, whatever, right? And what we're finding is like most organizations have a ton of data, but it is not AI ready. And a
right.
lot of the times it's not even close. Yeah, we've got data going back to 1994. Great. Where is it? Well, it's in these PDFs in this or, in these paper documents in a filing cabinet, or it's in
Yeah, yeah.
PDFs, or it's in 12 different systems and none of it correlates. Like that's the challenges that we're seeing companies having to work through right now to actually implement AI into their product or doing something proprietary that really moves them forward.
Brilliant. So, so let's move to you as a leader. So when you think about, when you started this business, and you were young and perhaps naive, as most of us are when we start
Very
businesses.
much so.
Yeah,
Still am.
appreciate that. Yeah, humility is an important leadership skill. What would you tell yourself? What have you learned along the path that you could kind of as an offer as a nugget back to someone in your shoes right now?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, one of the things that we've always done and still do, and I think it's been worth it every dollar it's cost us, to be honest, which is doing the right thing instead of chasing the money.
There you go.
And we've done it. Again, I'm not saying I would go back and change and do it differently because we've been doing it, but I think that's one of the single most important things that we do. Our sales team hates it when I go on sales calls because I'll sit there and say, "Yeah, you shouldn't build this software. You're not ready. You should go do these other things first, and then we'll talk and we'll help you understand how to do those things before you actually do this."
I love that, Brian. I mean, it's such what I teach my clients about is that one, you're going to have to live with the consequences of your actions.
Mhm.
So if you take that short term view, you're going to, you can be cunning in the moment, but then it's going to be painful later on. And
Yeah.
the way we break it down that people enjoy. Matter of fact, I just had another video that was clipped out because the people like it so much. It's like, I learned it from somebody else, long ago. I can't take credit for this, but everyone knows to say yes to the hell yes things and no
Yeah.
to the hell no things. But between hell no and hell yes, it's just hell, right?
I like that. Yeah.
Right? So if it's
I
not
like
hell
that.
yes, it's just no, and that's just our job then is to be clearer and clearer with what hell yes is,
Exactly.
right? So the sales team deserves us figuring out for them, these are the things that we're really gonna be able to crush, man.
Mhm.
They're gonna love us, we're gonna love them, we're gonna do great work for them, it's gonna go great, it's not gonna be painful.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
We're gonna be
Exactly.
chasing the money. If we do this, if we stay in this zone where we can really crush it, that that's how it's gonna go down,
When
and
I
we're gonna
say
be
they
happy.
hate it, honestly, I joke with them all the time because it's
Yeah,
one of their favorite things because it shows, like, just who we are, right? That's the best way to get across who we are
that's so
is
great.
exactly that, and, I look at, things I would change. I'm a hard on the sleeve kinda guy, and I'm a pretty open book, to be honest, and I've realized as we've gotten larger, and we've been larger than we are now, and as a leader, that has to change, and even if
Mm.
that's my true personality, you gotta curb that a little bit, and so that's been probably the biggest lesson that if
It
I wanted to change something about, you know, who I was 8 years ago when I joined, that would be the number one thing I would focus on is just how to be that more steadying presence.
well, I'll give you a nugget from the future then,
Yeah, yeah,
around
I
these
love
lines.
it.
So, the reality of it is if you th when we have a model for how we think about growing companies, and one of the things as leaders we have to do is realize that our job goes from doing work to communicating work and coordinating work, right?
Mhm.
And part of that is becoming a better and better communicator. So, just taking ownership of like you do with, like we're not gonna do work we can't do well, taking ownership of what the impact of your words are going to be, right? And being
Yeah.
self-aware enough that not that you're not being an open book, but there's an appropriate level of openness
Yes, that's
that
exactly
helps
right.
that solves the problem, that makes things better for everybody. It creates trust because high trust organizations are far more effective and resilient than low trust organizations. And that being authentic leadership is really powerful.
Yeah, right, and that's the hard part is you gotta find that right balance, you gotta
And
find that
that's the
right
work.
line, and
That's just
that's
the
what I've
work.
spent, I would say the last 4 years, that's been my primary focus, is how do I find that right line, and
That's
I'm
brilliant. That's the
certainly
right
not
work, man.
perfect, I'm a very flawed human as we all are, but I'm trying to get better every day at it.
All right, Brian, we'd like to give everyone that's on the show an opportunity to call out mentors that have really been an instrumental part of helping you get to where you are. You've been recognized, so this is a good time to look back. And do you have any mentors in mind that you want to shout out?
I mean, absolutely. First, before mentors, I rarely get the platform to shout out some of these people, so I have to take advantage of it while I
Oh
can.
yeah, absolutely. Please.
And in some ways it is mentorship, but my wife, Carly, she listens to more insanity of me than anybody else could ever deal with, but also provides really good insights on how to do things. My family, my mom, dad, and brother for just believing in me, especially my dad, and that's where more getting into the mentor side. My dad runs his own business. It's been a huge inspiration to see what he's been able to build over the last, like, gosh, 14 years now. And that's been an inspiring and motivating thing for me. And I've learned so many countless lessons from his failures that he's, you know, passed on to me as words of wisdom.
Fantastic.
Exactly. And then Brad, our CTO and original founder, I mean, again, I can't say enough good about the guy. I would not be here without the opportunities he's presented me and his mentorship and guidance over the years. And then our other leadership team members, Jill Ross and Steve Hennigan. The way that we all think about things are so different, but I lean on them so much for their different ideas and different approaches to things. It's just amazing to see, how all of us can
Mm.
think about these things so differently, but also agree so much in the same way. And they've all been really, really, really instrumental for me.
Well, Brian, that's great. I mean, it's the way you talk about it. It represents you very, very well from the standpoint of the best leaders are both humble and curious and
Mhm.
willing and able to take lessons from everything around them. And as a thank you, I'm going to send you a copy of Beyond Entrepreneurship 2.0, which is Jim Collins. You know
Yeah,
Jim
awesome.
Collins? Yeah,
Okay.
good to great.
Yeah.
It's a book he wrote with his mentor. His first book was called Beyond Entrepreneurship, and
Okay.
his mentor passed away a little while ago, but he re-released that book in 2020 with the original text, but also his reflections on the original text. This is what we got
Okay.
right. This is what we got
Yeah.
wrong. This is what we missed. I think you'll appreciate that.
I love it. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you so
Great.
much.
Well, Brian, thanks so much for taking some time with us today. If people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way?
Email brian@sevenhillstechnology.com. All
Brilliant.
spelled out really easy. And I spell it the right way, Brian, not like that poser Canadian singer.
Fair enough. I'll let you take the arrows on that one, my friend. All right, Brian, thanks so much. It's been great to talk to you.
Thanks for having me, Jim.
Bye now.